tofu time, oh, it's tofu time, oh, yeah. I love tofu, a classic, vegan for 16 years, and I just love this stuff. I just eat it raw on its own. But I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. Freaks a lot of people out. People think it tastes like nothing or rubber or cardboard or, you know, one of those things. So I'm here to teach you a couple tips and tricks to make your tofu delicious, and it's very easy too. Today we're going to talk about preparing the tofu, and I'm going to give you 2 simple marinade recipes to use. Tofu comes in a bunch of water, so first step, dump that out. I dump that into the sink. Then you have a couple options. You can press your tofu or not. It doesn't really matter. The preparation we're going to do today is freezing the tofu, which actually kind of presses a lot of the water out of it anyway. I'm going to give you a couple options for pressing. Get that to a more manageable size. I've got a tofu press here. This is the kind with the rubber bands on the side. I like the one with the spring on top as well. It just kind of automatically tightens as the tofu presses, but you can see there's a little drain pad for it. Bloop, bloop, bloop. So I'm gonna set that, even it out a bit. I'm gonna set that on the second setting there. If you don't have a tofu press, no problem. You can get some paper towel or a clean tea towel. Just press it with your hands. Just get some of that fluid out, because the more fluid you can get out, the more marinade can get in. Science, right? Tightening it up, dumping it out. I'll show you the dumping it out. Pressing it down, dumping it out. Not too much water. Once your tofu is pressed, patted, air dried, once your tofu is ready to go, it's time to decide on some shapes. So I really like a triangular tofu steak shape, and I put that on my toast and my sandwiches. I love that. You can also do little cubes, are really nice for stir fries. I'm going to show you a couple different ways to cut it because we are freezing it, so it's going to be frozen in whatever shape you put it in now. First up, the tofu steak. So I'm doing about 1/4 inch, those are 1/4 inch and this is 1/2 inch. Well, you know, that's fine. Just little triangles like this. On a sandwich, so good. And over here, again doing about 1/4 to 1/2 inch there. I'm going to do some cubes. And then further dividing for some thinner strips. Too thin. Tofu talk. What's your favorite tofu shape or way to use tofu? What do you use it as? We've also got a scrambled tofu recipe coming up, so stay tuned for that. All right, I've got my well-loved reusable Ziplocs ready to go, ready to load up with the different types of tofu. Let's start with the first marinade, which is kind of like a whatever's in your fridge barbecue type marinade. For this one, we're going to follow my, I don't really know the recipe, so we're doing 2 tablespoons of most of the things recipe. Starting with some olive oil, 2 tablespoons, okay. Followed by some soy sauce, or Bragg's, or coconut aminos if you can't do soy. Followed by some ketchup. If you don't like using ketchup because of the sugar, you could also use tomato paste here. I would just use 1 tablespoon because that stuff is strong. Maple syrup for a little sweet factor. 1, 2. Stir that up. Salt, do you savory, sweet, and oil. 1 teaspoon lineup. So we're going to do 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of nutritional yeast. You could really use any spices here. If you'd rather use onion powder, if you'd rather not put the powders, that's okay too. Teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, acid factor. And this one's personal preference. If you want a little fire factor, a little heat, you can add some sriracha, you can add some chili powder. Probably don't need salt because there's a lot of soy sauce in there. And some pepper. A little more fire because, you know, I'm willing to take that whisk. Savory smelling goodness. I'm going to do my 2 triangles in this marinade. Let's get them nice and drenched. It's also a good idea, as long as you've got firm tofu, to give it a couple pokes with your fork to allow the marinade to really set in. Brilliant. And then we're just gonna plop them in the bag. I'm gonna try to lay them flat so that they're easy to take apart when you wanna cook them, in case, you know, maybe you just wanna eat one, you don't want the whole bag. Just make sure you don't clump them all together at the bottom of the bag in a way that doesn't come out easily. I'm also going to do some strips. That's enough for this bag. I made enough marinade for like a whole block of tofu. I just wanted to show you 2 different kinds here. So we're gonna pour in a little bit extra. And seal it up. Get out the air. Make sure you hear that block click. Okay. Doesn't look pretty now, but I promise, once it's frozen, the texture becomes incredible. It really changes the texture of the tofu. So if you've got a tofu texture hater in your life and you're trying to teach them to love tofu, try this. Try freezing it in a marinade or just on its own. But I like to freeze it in a marinade. You might as well. And then when you go to cook it, half the work is already done. It's already flavored. So I'm gonna pop that in the freezer for a few hours. The next marinade I'm going to teach you is a lemon herb marinade. It's really simple, really summery, really fresh, and it tastes awesome in stir fries. So we're going to take a lemon, well washed, and we're going to zest it. So zesting means just getting down to that first layer of white, not going right into the pithy parts there. There we go, that is a boiled lemon. So we've got the rind from a lemon, as well as the juice from a lemon. Sweet. We're gonna add our lemon rinds to the lemon juice. And we're going to use dried basil. Basil? What do you say? I have to ask everybody. I have no idea. I'm going to use dried basil and some garlic powder to flavor this. So we're going to do 2 teaspoons basil, make it nice and herby. You could also go with oregano or parsley if you're feeling other spices, just any green spice that you're feeling. Teaspoon of garlic powder, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and salt. Whisk that one up. I'm going to do my triangles first. fry these up and put them on top of a fresh pasta that's topped with just olive oil and garlic, fresh basil leaves. Tasty. If there's any extra, pour it in. Lay them flat, get the air out, and freeze. More after when they are frozen. Okay, broils and grills and non-binary friends. That would be boys, girls, and non-binary friends in oven speak. Here is our tofu once it's been frozen solid. So if it is really hard to get out of the bag, you can run it under some warm water. You can leave it in the fridge overnight to defrost. I'm literally just gonna cook it from frozen here. Coconut oil over medium heat. Definitely want a lid for this. I'm going to turn down the heat a bit now to make sure it cooks all the way through without burning on the edges. Couple minutes on each side, flipping back and forth to make sure you get cooked all the way through. We've got two perfect tofu steaks. Delicious tofu steak sandwich. These were those thick pieces that I cut. Oh my goodness, this looks so tasty. Voila! Top it with a few sprouts. Top it with a few sprouts. Tasty, tasty. So the texture after freezing, like I was saying, is like totally different texture. It doesn't taste as much like tofu. Excuse me while I eat my lunch. So there you have it. Freezing tofu changes it, and you've got two marinades to work with now. So the next time you're looking at your sad little sandwich and you think, oh, I gotta beef it up somehow, tofu it up with tofu steaks. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing and liking and all the things. Maybe see you in a live class soon. Lots of love to you in your bellies.